Hello, and welcome to the Boomer Briefing podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm your host today, Amanda Wilkie, a consultant here at Boomer Consulting. And today I have with me Courtney Edwards. Hey, Courtney, thank you so much for being on this episode of the podcast with me.
No, thank you for the invite, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Courtney, I know you and I go way back, and I am very excited to have this conversation with you. So, Courtney, here with us today is the Chief Information Officer at Bennett Thrasher. And today we're actually going to talk about her transition into the role of CIO, because we talk to a lot of firms that they're asking themselves a question: are we big enough for a CIO? Do we need a CIO? Is it an IT director we need? And so sometimes there's some confusion around the CIO role and what they do, and really how to get there. So, Courtney, I'm excited to have you here. Let's start with a little bit of your background. Like, what was your role like before CIO, and how did you kind of come up through the ranks?
Okay. Well, I guess before CIO, I was the IT director here at BT. I started in April of 2006 with the firm. So it's been a long journey. Started out as a help desk administrator, administrating just me. Um, help build a knowledge base, and then help build out the help desk, and continuously saw growth in the firm. And last year, I was actually promoted to innovation officer before moving into the CIO role. And with that, it just, I guess the difference between a director and a CIO is you're dealing more in a director role. You're dealing more with the day to day and technology supporting the day to day, whereas the CIO is looking more to align IT with business goals, firm goals, and bring in innovation as well as examining or talking with your service line leaders and tax and audit leaders, and then figuring out where you can bring in new innovation and technology into the firm.
Gotcha. So, Courtney, was technology something that you were passionate about, or was it the accounting profession that really drew you to Bennett Thrasher?
It was definitely technology. I was actually recounting this story with one of our associates recently. My dad was a computer engineer, worked for Lockheed for a number of years, and um, I'd say five, six. I had a keyboard connected to a TV, and he had me going through like little code books and writing little programs. And when I get in trouble, they take the keyboard away. They leave the TV because I wasn't always interested in television. They take the keyboard away from me. So I think it was predetermined, pretty young, that I was going to be in the tech field.
Gotcha. So, like, way back before it was actually cool, you were into computers.
Yeah, we had first computer like in the house was a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
So we rocked with that thing until it literally burned up on us. And then we're the ones on the block that had the IBM, and one of the first ones to have a laptop. So yeah, it was always kind of tech for me. I thought I'd be a programmer, but I couldn't handle one semicolon being out of place and throwing the whole program off. That really got really got
Yeah.
to me once I went to school.
Yeah. And I'm with you. So, Courtney, my undergrad was or is computer science, and that last year of school, I kind of looked around the Linux lab, and I was like, I don't want to program, my entire life. But I loved the technology. So, similar to you, I went more kind of the help desk, desktop support, some server
Mhm.
administration route. And when I fell into public accounting, about the same time you did. So I started the first firm I worked at in January of 2005. And by the end of that first tax season, I had such an admiration for everything the CPAs went through. Um, and I knew that I wanted to help them, and I could do that with technology. And I mean, if you think about technology in public accounting, the amount of data, the opportunities for automation, some of the challenges around privacy and security and remote work. I mean, it's a really exciting place to be in technology. It's a really, really great profession. So I'm really happy that you have been in the profession this long, because I think we need really good IT people in the profession. And sometimes we look at the accounting profession and your technologists don't get as excited as they could or should. I think you and I have seen a lot of that opportunity around technology. So, but let's get back to talking about you. So, how long have you been in the role of CIO? I know it's been pretty recent, and you touched on this a little bit, but how do you feel like your role has changed since moving into CIO?
I still say it's fairly new to me. It actually was effective beginning of November of 2022, and I know we're right around the corner because apparently this year's just it's been running away from us a bit. But yeah, so less than a year in the role, and in terms of I guess how it's changed, those first couple months was really trying to figure out my first 3 month, my first 6 months. Knew had to find an IT director to um, come step into that role for us that I was leaving or vacating, and then thinking about the team, making sure that that person fit with us, and um, just kept pushing us in the direction that we were going, for that daily support and management of the team. And then, allowing myself to kind of step out of that IT director role. I'm not gonna lie, it has been difficult because I'm a technologist, like we talked about. Like I enjoy putting my hands on something that's broken and working through that solution and getting it fixed for a person. But my role means that I have to look at bringing in new things. I can't look at what's currently here. I need to look at what's on the horizon for us for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, and how our technology evolves and helps the firm and our leaders and our associates to do their job. Like you said, data is all around us, and we all know AI is the key phrase for this year, for probably the next 2 years. And it's looking at those solutions around that and figuring out how we as a firm start taking advantage of what we're seeing coming out, or what could potentially be changing the accounting industry.
You don't do tech support anymore, Courtney?
Of course, I do tech support. I work in the IT department no matter what. I will always get approached with a mobile device or a laptop or an account lockout, and you don't shy away from those things or tell somebody else to go handle it. You take it on, and then you further the conversation and ask them, like, "Hey, what are you looking at or doing? And is there anything that we can do to help you?" Or just different questions. You take those opportunities to engage with people.
Yeah, I feel you. I had that, I had some of those same struggles like you. I like to be a problem solver.
Hmm.
And so when someone had a problem, I would get very frustrated when I couldn't help fix it. And I had to remind myself that I couldn't help fix it because I hadn't actually been on those applications in a couple of years, because I'd
Oh yeah.
actually been doing the job of a CIO. And, I'd been doing my role. And we talk to firms all the time about their accounting staff and making sure that their accounting staff is working at the right level and at the highest possible level that they can. And again, I kind of know that struggle, because I wanted to help everyone, even though I was at the CIO role as well. So here's a couple of questions for you. What would you say were some of the surprises, or did you have any surprises transitioning from IT director into CIO?
Um, Honestly, I think it's more for me. The surprise was being at the table with our leaders, being invited into that room, and then hearing some of the struggles that they are encountering or want to overcome, And it's like, well, we were always kind of here. Um, you know, come and let us know. But it's more about going and soliciting some of that information from them, and then working with them to develop new processes or bring in new technology. Um, but in terms of like anything too big, no, not so much. And I think I'm at an advantage of having quote unquote grown up in this firm.
Mm.
Having been here since 2006, so I've worked my way up from being the help desk person to the manager to the senior manager and director. So there's very much an open line of communication between me and leadership. Um, so I think that works to my advantage here at BT.
Yeah, I would say so. Here at Boomer, and you're part of the CIO circle, and we're so happy to have you in there. And it's such a great group of CIOs from various types of firms. But what we typically see with CIOs in the accounting profession is there's someone like yourself who's kind of grown up in the firm. You understand the players in the profession around solution providers and other firms that you can leverage for information and support, and you understand the partnership structure, you understand the service lines. So that's one type of CIO we see coming in. The other is sometimes they are coming, from a similar role, so another CIO position, but from outside of the profession, and then they get dropped into a firm and they're dealing with the partnership structure and some of the politics there. Who are the major players from a software standpoint? And the thing is, we're all having kind of similar struggles, but I feel like those are those two types of individuals, the ones that grew up in the accounting profession or the ones who had CIO experience, they both have some struggles and some challenges. They're just a little bit different. So my question for you, Courtney, is for a firm out there that's looking for a CIO, whether they're looking for a new CIO or they're developing the role kind of as a new position, is there any advice that you would have for them?
Yeah, I would say before you put anything out there in terms of actually searching for externally for your CIO, you need to look internally and figure out what you need as a firm, what you're lacking, and not to throw any IT department under the bus because I'm coming from being a manager and a director, we work really hard in the IT department, but figuring out what you don't already have and figuring out the software that you want to start looking at and direction that your firm wants to go, um, figuring out your goals as a firm, um, and how technology integrates with that. And then go searching for your CIO. And maybe somebody that's already there, like you said, that already knows your business and knows key people in the firm, knows your software, and knows how to get things done. Or maybe somebody coming from another industry because you want to start moving maybe into that industry, or you want to look at some of the tools that industry uses, and this person can bring that into your firm. I think as a CIO, you always have to be careful to not be disruptive, because you can have a lot of ideas. You can have there's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of different directions that you can go in, but you always have to make sure you're not disruptive to what the business is actually trying to accomplish, and then what the individual teams are trying to do with their processes, and how technology comes in to help them with that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because you're right. You want kind of the personality and the drive of the CIO to really match the personality and the culture of the firm.
Right.
If you have one of those firms that wants to be super innovative and on that, not just the cutting edge, but they want to be on the bleeding edge, then you want to make sure that your CIO matches the firm, because if you have a mismatch there, to your point, there's going to be disruption, and not the good kind of disruption.
Right.
Not the kind of disruption not kind of the business disruption, or transformation, I think was the buzzword a few years
Yeah,
ago.
that's true.
Yeah. So another question for you. I know there's a lot of, technology professionals out there. I remember, being kind of the mid-level manager, help desk manager, and thinking, I want to be a CIO one day, and every firm only has one CIO. So I knew that I may have to go to a different firm. But what advice would you give to IT professionals who are, aspiring to be you one day?
Um, I'd always say map out your career as much as you can. Like everything's not always going to be perfect, but look at where you're trying to go or what you're trying to achieve, and figuring out how the certifications, how the networking, how the firm that you're at helps you get there. If you're not in the right firm, then yeah, it's going to be time to switch and go someplace else. But if you have a firm that's supportive, that's there to make sure you have continuing education, and there to expose you to new, I mean, from technology standpoint to new software, new technology, then take advantage of that. But also be vocal. Um, I've talked to my staff about that as well. Is like, hey, if you want something, you come say something. If I'm doing something, sometimes we get so bogged down and focused on trying to achieve the goal that sometimes you forget to bring somebody else along with you so that they can learn and continue on their career. So be vocal in the things that you want, and then sit down with, we call them guides here at BT, but sit down with your mentor or your coach and help them, allow them to help you map that out. So you're not feeling like you've got to do it all yourself, because at the end of the day, you have people around you that will help you progress in your career.
Absolutely. I mean, I never got offended when someone who I worked with said, "Oh, I want your job one day." That excited me because I was like, "I'm not going to
Oh
be in
yeah.
this job forever. Let me help you get here, or let me help prepare you to do this job at another firm." So I think it's very important to have those mentors and have those people that you can look up to. So I will recommend to our listeners that they, connect with you or follow you on social media, because you are definitely someone in the profession that I admire. I think we've had some similar paths and just some great conversations, and I've always really enjoyed it. Just like I've really enjoyed this conversation. So Courtney, just thank you very much for your time today. And I really appreciate you sharing your insights about that transition from IT director to CIO. And I'll say to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, we release a new episode every Tuesday morning. And we talked to Courtney today about technology and her role as CIO, but we also cover topics related to leadership, process, talent, and growth. And what all of these topics have in common is that they are crucial to your firm's success and helping you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. So if you like what you heard, please hit subscribe, and thank you very much for listening. And again, thank you, Courtney.
No, I appreciate you, Amanda, and thank you for the opportunity. It's been great, having you as an ally and as someone I can always go to bounce ideas off of. It is a bit of a love fest. I adore you, and thank you for the time and opportunity to talk today.
Likewise. Thank you, Courtney.